morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is everybody? Welcome to another episode of Roll Around Find Out. In today's episode, you've got a GM doing some GM stuff. I'm going to go over some session prep for my school club. I want to create a really simple, what I guess I would call a business card sized adventure. And depending on how long those take, I want to talk about using Magic the Gathering cards as a world building tool again. But first, on to the mailbag. All right, first up for mailbag is Basic Fantasy, and this is the 3rd edition. I personally don't get too excited about Basic Fantasy, but it has a lot to offer, and here's the number one reason why. These books are cheap, like $5. This, I forget, you can look it up on Amazon, but they sell them at cost. It's like, softcover book is like, I don't know, between $10 and $15, and it's a whole game, monsters, you name it. But I'll just go quick. I've got equipment, adventure anthology, longer campaigns, official monster manual, adventure, the Black Apple. I like this. The Black Apple Breath. Chaotic Caves. Morgan's Fort, I believe, is based off the, I always want to say All Quiet on the Western Front, but it is Keep on the Borderlands, the Dark Temple, and when you open these up, there's a little bit of art, but it's, basic. If you had a black and white printer, that's really all you would want to do to it. But these are so cheap. For adventure design, for inspiration, it's you got to buy some of these. A 4th edition just came out, and I don't really know the difference. I'll do some research later to look it up. But Basic Fantasy, it's awesome for what it is. Again, for the cost, and I'm just not personally knowledgeable enough in old school 1st edition, 0 edition Dungeons and Dragons to know how accurate this is or not. But probably 2 years ago, I was reading through this when I had got it, and I thought, whoa, how incredibly boring. And that is not a knock on Basic Fantasy, but specifically for fighters. Okay? On this chart here, if you were watching and not just listening, this is their experience points table, and then it gives you a little description on what a fighter is, but they literally do not get any abilities. Nothing. A cleric in here, it says that they can turn undead, maybe 1 or 2 other things. This blew my mind of how complex a thief was. I didn't know that in original Dungeons and Dragons that a thief was, I believe, a D100 roll under for their skills. Opening locks, traps, pickpockets. The thief was, I think, introduced in one of the supplements for D&D. I want to say Eldritch Horrors, but I don't think that's the right name. But imagine going from a fighter where you literally don't have any abilities to, holy bananas, a thief has 50 things it can do, and this whole table of charts based on your level, what you have to roll to move silently and climb walls or hide. If you were a fighter, you were probably doing these things before, but just making generic stat rolls. So a little further in depth here, they'll talk about a fighter here. Let's see. I should have bookmarked the page. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here's what you get as a fighter. You get an increased attack bonus. So you're going to hit more often, which, right, that's cool. We want that. But there's like no double hit or two attacks, double attacks. There's no combat maneuvers. There's nothing. You just get a bonus to hit more. And that really just is only going to scale with the armor class of the monsters. So I don't think your percentage necessarily increases in hitting. You just stay level with where the monsters are at. So cleric and thief, they also get a progression, but theirs is a little more narrow. They don't get as much of a bonus like fighters do. Magic users, even less so. Uh, just wild to me. And again, that is not a knock on basic fantasy. That's just how uh, old school D&D works. So that's my understanding, at least. This is, I don't know, there's so many terms that float around. I don't know if this is a retro clone of first edition or zero edition. I don't know, but go check this out, because again, this is like $10 and it's got monsters in the back, it's got rules. And actually, let me go into the table of contents. I need to just like throw this in my car, and then when my kids have sports stuff to go on, just read it over, because there's so much good information outside of the game. So, wandering monsters, creating an NPC party, dealing with players, uh, hopeless characters, acquisition of spells, judging wishes, optional rules, how encounter works. Let's see, attacking from behind. Let's see. There was one on here I liked. It was like, how does a grenade work? And it was like area effect of damage. So good information to be had here in basic fantasy. Go check it out, and go check out those adventures. If nothing else, go pick one up for $4 or $5 and just read it to get a sense of like, oh, this is how old school adventures were written. It's totally worth it. All right, next one. This one's going to be totally random, but I had this on my shelf, and so I want to talk about it. This guy, this Boss Stitch, I believe it's called a magazine stapler, maybe a binding stapler, is fantastic. I use this for so many of my, A4, A5 zines. I've got it taped up here so the stop aligns perfectly with where I want the binding edge. And I think this is like $15 on Amazon. Totally random, but this says whatever it costs, let's say $15, maybe even $25. I'm not sure. This has saved me because I can just buy the PDFs of things, print them off, and then staple them and make them just like the professionals would. So a random thing, but if you are a zine printer outer, go get you one. And then last but not least, this is going to be an upcoming episode. Call of Cthulhu starter set. I bought this years ago. Kind of looked it over and kind of got turned off by it because of the Mythras. And if you've listened to any episodes, I am just not a fan of Mythras and RuneQuest. And that's, again, just like basic fantasy, just saying it's not that they're bad games. They're certainly well made, well executed games. It's just at right now, not something I'm interested in. I think they have a new version out. At least I know there's a different cover, and I want to check this out. I've owned it for years, like I said, and I don't really have friends that want to play Call of Cthulhu, but there's a solo adventure in here, and so I want to play that and check it out, which I will probably be doing in the next episode or so. Okay, so that is it for Mailbag. On to Random Drive-Through RPG File. So normally I show you where I scroll through, but just due to a little technical error, I already picked this one and downloaded it. We have Kokila, the Traveling Merchant. This is I believe, free resource, 5 pages. It talks about Kokila, the enigmatic traveling merchant, and her charming sentient mushroom companion. Sporit are ready for adventure, and this unique NPC. Add this unique NPC into your campaign quickly with the provided background, personality trait, and quest hooks. Before we get into it, what's this? I'm gonna put a little pin in you. This is by I may have talked about this already, because even though I can't pronounce the name, it sounds familiar. Avernd Sundar. Definitely messed that up, but I've got it right here. Okay, Kokila, the Traveling Merchant. Let me tell you right away, it's got everything you need. The Traveling Merchant, it's got her appearance, her occupation, talks about her mushroom, Sporit. I would call it Sporat. It's just me, because it's funny, like Borat. Her motivations, character traits, background, relationships she has, reputation, accomplishments, affiliations, tips on how to roleplay her with her pipe, her fanny pack, her wagon. She has enchanted camping gear. What does it say here? On her command, this whole camp setup appears, making her a nice meal. It cleans up after itself when it's done and packs itself away. That's pretty cool. There are quest hooks for her, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that you could implement into your campaign. I'll read the second one here. Kokila may hire players to protect her as she chases down Vinchard's mask while racing against other treasure hunters who are also after the same prize. So if your players are treasure hungry, well, here's Kokila. She's looking for treasure too. She knows of one. Help her find it. She'll give you gold in exchange an item that she has, something like that. Cool art here. It's very vague what she sells as a merchant, which if you're going to give like quest hooks as an example of how to use her, I would also like to see like specific items that she carries, but that would be on the GM to figure that out. It does have good art here. This keepsake is kind of like a clock compass thing. It's cool. She has secrets. She has sayings to add to the role playing. She's got her pet sentient mushroom. Says she avoids combat. Here are her stat blocks. Cool art on this charm here. And trust me, go check it out. Totally useful, helpful. The art on here is great. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So show this, and you know, depending on how you want to role player, could be very hippy dippy, freeform, druid like, etc. I think that's pretty cool. Kokila, the Traveling Merchant. Okay, let's go to the main topic. All right. Jumping into it, Honk. If you've been listening to my episodes in order, hopefully in order, that I've posted them, unless I messed something up, I've been really impressed with this Honk adventure. In reading it over, I think it's kind of empty. It doesn't really give you a lot of details. I don't really understand the flow. I look at it as kind of like, well, here's all the puzzle pieces, and then you put it together how you want, which could be seen as a really good thing. It's not very railroady. In saying it out loud, it's kind of an interesting design scheme of, here are all of the NPCs, here's the town, here's the general gist of what's going on. but you piece it together. So if I can find his name here, we have Bojim the Ogre. And Bojim is kind of getting the blame for these trappers that have gone missing. But that's not the case. And if this map here. So the players, if you're only an audio listener, you'll be struggling with this a little bit, but I'll do my best. Flockwood is where the players are going, and it's all the way on the west end. They are coming from, I believe, the east to carry out the king's orders and to bring, like, what would be the word? The sacred goose, basically. And so these trappers go and they have these goose traps here, which is near the ogre's domain, Bojim's cabin. So I think that's why he's kind of seen as the bad guy, but he's not. But the honking cavern is way, 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 way far away, which is where the problem really is coming from. But it started from the ruined tower, which is in the direct north of the map. And so, again, I think the players are supposed to come from the east. They go through everything, and then, like, when do they encounter the ogre? It doesn't really say. You just pop them in as needed. At least that's how I read it. So, and same with the wizard's tower. Like, there's no reason for the players to go to the wizard's tower. They go to Flockwood all the way on the west side of the map. They get the intel. And then kind of like, well, go find the trappers. Well, those are in the south. And then the players would have no reason to go north to the ruined tower. They could go north to the ruined tower, but then they have no reason to go south to Bojim's cabin. So again, you have to put in the details as how do you want to run it. Then also another thing, just kind of interesting. So I don't think I've ever seen this before, and I don't know where, if at all, it mentions the level of adventuring party this is for. Like, normally it says, this is made for 3 to 5 level 4 characters. But I don't, unless I missed it, I don't think that's in here. It just starts the adventure, and then when we get to the stat blocks, we have a CR9 Goose Hydra. Then we have a CR15, a CR21, and a CR30. Like, okay. Great, right? It only gives you more options as to what level you want to run this in. For me, we're running it at like level 1. So I'll adjust as needed. But onto the main purpose of this discussion is, how do I want to tie this all together? So this is session prep for me. If I open up my doc I have here, a couple days ago, well, let me give you background. So I decided I want to run this honk adventure. I 3D printed the 5-headed goose hydra, and it was awesome. I painted it. Great. And then I kind of wanted to put all of that adventure into a document that at least flowed better for me. And shame on me, I was rushed for time. I didn't put in the commitment that I needed to. And so if you're watching the video here, this is just poor structure on my part. It's not a lot of information, but when you're in the moment, you're listening to players, you're deciding actions, you don't have time to be reading paragraphs of information. And so I need to go through this and restructure it, and color coding is something that's really important for me. if I can highlight, okay, all my NPCs are yellow, or green are helpful NPCs, red, pink, probably pink are harmful NPCs, and yellow are neutral, something like that, then I can quickly go to find the names. If I notice there's a lull, people don't know what to be doing in the town, then I'll just go, okay, well, things have been going too well, so let me go find a negative or antagonistic NPC to shuffle it up a little bit. And then if players are struggling, things are not going their way, then I'll bring in a helpful NPC, something like that. So I've got information to make the adventure make more sense to me, but it's not user friendly, even to me, the person who made it. Okay, so for session prep, beyond just organizing this, what I need to do is catch you up on where we're at. So I started my club. I had my first session, and I had, I think by the end, 13 or 14 fifth graders at the same table. Insane. I had 40 kids total show up, and that was wild. So get these kids up and running. Took about a half hour, and once the story started, kids got really engaged. So they have received orders from the king to go to Flockwood and gather the sacred goose. Every couple months, the king commands a goose for a feast. And I said, it's kind of like their civic duty. Like, everybody has to do, what's it called? Jury duty. This example did not quite land for fifth graders, so shame on me. But I basically said, like, everybody has to help the king out at some point during the year with something. I also said, if this was like a long-term campaign, I wouldn't just force you to say you are doing this. You would be able to resist it, say no. But I said, we have 14 kids. Like, here's our journey. We're all doing it together. Okay. So I could have just had them go right to Flockwood, but I tried to do some world building. It was a 3-week journey. 2 weeks were very uneventful. During those 2 weeks, here's a good thing I'll pat myself on the back for. I said, the kingdom is large. You come from all different areas. Nobody knows who each other is. So spend the next 10 minutes here. Just go over your character sheets. What's your character name? What are you good at? And if you want to share, what is your character bad at? If you don't know, I'm not running 5th edition or really any edition of D&D. I've got my own made-up thing using D6s, and it has proven to be effective for this for middle schoolers, 5th grade in particular. And so they went around the table. They said their character name, what they're good at, etc. And so that kind of like filled the void of 2 weeks. Okay, so now they have 1 week to get from the east side of the marsh to the left side of the marsh. And they know that because it's a marsh, adventure is going to be rough. It's swampy. Getting their carts through are going to be hard. And the first encounter that they have is a large area of quicksand. It's not really possible to go around unless they want to add another week's journey and have increased risk of other problems. So it's kind of like, well, here's the problem we know of. Do we want to deal with that, or do we want to deal with unknown problems? And so luckily they picked the known problem, because I would have had to create something on the spot for an unknown. I think I probably would have done like a pack of wolves encounter or something. And so one person was the scout up ahead. They found the quicksand. They came back. They let the party know. On the way, they were kind of prepping. And then the prep started to take too long. That many kids, 13, 14 kids, so many voices. I want to do this. I want to do that. No, we should do this. And nobody could agree. So the I think, I don't think it was the scout. Somebody, I said, okay, hey, I need you to just roll one dice for me, because they were somebody that was pretty active in the discussion. And so they rolled low and they got hit with an arrow. In my last episode, I talked about this story as well. They got hit with an arrow, and some kid said, "What size is the arrow?" And I'm thinking, well, we all know what arrows are. They're, 2-3 feet long. And for some reason, my brain says, oh, it's about the size of a throwing dart, like 3-4 inches long. So I'm like, well, why did I say that? Why? So, fast forwarding, they make it to the quicksand, and somebody along the way, they found some small feathers. And now I just have it in my brain that there are like rogue chickens on the loose. So this is something I gotta find. I need to find like a warrior chicken. And oh yeah, perfect. I didn't think this was going to be that difficult. Let me actually find... Oh, this is pretty sweet. Let's go... I actually want to find an archer. Chicken archer. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly what I wanted. Open image, a new tab. Yes, look at this. Okay. The internet. It's amazing. I love it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, too much. Okay, perfect. There we go. Yep. Yep. This is what I need. Okay, so how I'm going to work this in, let me write it down before I forget, that the goose... Okay, so... Oh, no. Control-Shift-T. The goose was created by Ungulf the Wizard. Ungulf experiments with chickens and geese. Ungulf is not an evil wizard. He's just a absent-minded wizard, we'll say. So he experiments with chickens and geese, accidentally creates the Honkdra, Goose Hydra, and the chickens become Honkdra's minions. Okay? A goose and chickens working together. All right, so they found these feathers, and they make it to the quicksand. Somebody tries to run right across it. They roll poorly, and they get stuck. So it actually worked out awesome. The kids had great teamwork to save, and had good rolls to save the person that was in the quicksand, and they were able to climb the trees, swing through the vines, and they made it past the quicksand. And I like to leave it off on a cliffhanger. So I said once they made it out of the marsh, out of the quicksand, there was a little bit of a clearing, and there was probably 20 to 30 warrior chickens. And this picture is exactly what we need. So I'm actually going to copy it, paste it in, and then I'll print these out and hand them to kids. Okay, so I'm anticipating that a battle is going to ensue. Let me do this. Okay, I am anticipating a battle is going to ensue. So let me prep this out into notes, and then I will hopefully organize it more later. But players have escaped the quicksand. I do want to encourage a battle here or a combat here just for the learning of how does initiative work, how does attacking work, how does tracking hit points and using magic, right? It's going to be their first big combat encounter. Because the shooting of the arrow, they had lost hit points, and there was another time that another kid lost hit points. They've been casting spells. If you hear that, Rangers, my pooch Rangers a barking. So, but now I want to make it like a formal, structured. Here's a combat encounter. Okay. Players have escaped the quicksand. They see 30 chickens, 30 armed chickens in a field. Okay, because I want to encourage the combat, I'll say they are all standing and looking at the players. If the players advance, the chickens will attack. If the players avoid, the chickens will stalk. Okay? I like that. Keeps them on their toes. But I want to also tie it into the... I want to give them a little nugget before they get to Flockwood that the... Let's get the term right. The trappers... Where's the map? Yeah, the trappers are missing. The players avoid, the chickens will stalk. At some point, the players will see the smashed traps used for the geese. So the chickens have... I'll put that in parentheses. That the chickens have destroyed. And I don't want to say that the trappers were killed because... Let's see. Bojim stew is mixed with rare herbs. Bojim, the ogre, is very smart. Unfortunately, he also has a short temper. We're going to have... Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, we'll try and tie Bojim in here. The Hydro... I believe the trappers aren't trapped... aren't trapped. Aren't dead. They're in the... What do they call it? The Honkdra's lair. They discover the remains of the trappers. One lucky survivor is hidden between the branches of the nest. After some consideration by the party, he identifies him as Norbert Dane. Okay, so I guess I will say that they are badly injured and unconscious, but one is alive. Okay. In the traps, the wreckage of the traps, a map is found. A map is found with notes on the back that vaguely describe the Honkdra. Okay, let me back it up. In the wreckage of the traps, a map is found with hastily written notes on the back that vaguely describe the Honkdra and that it flew to the north with a trapper in each mouth. All right, that might be a little too specific. Well, I'm thinking, sorry for the silence. I'm thinking like no one's going to write a note that says we were all captured and then it's the note saying we were captured. In the wreckage of the trap, a map is found with hastily written notes on the back that vaguely describes the Hunktra. So a massive winged beast, feathery beast, a massive feathery foe. Yeah. Relentlessly, viciously. I'm trying to think of a word like it just, and the attacks just kept coming one after another. It seemed like every time we were able to injure it. Let me write that down. I'll put this in a special spot. The attacks were relentless. The more we damaged it, the more it seemed to attack the more we damaged it, the more strikes the more we damaged it, the more, again, trying to drop a little hint that, hey, this is kind of how the Hydra works. The more we damaged it, the more angry it became, and the more... Well, here's how I would just say it bluntly. The more we damaged it, the more it attacked us. I mean, that's too blunt. I want it more than that. The attacks were relentless. The more we damaged it, the more it seemed to... The more we damaged it, the more it seemed to... Let's get... What do they call the attacks? Engulfing, bite. Yeah, okay, bite, swallow. The attacks were relentless. The more we damaged it, the more it bit us. And the fate of some were... The more we damage it... Okay, what is this regurgitation ability? The Hunktra takes 30 damage or more on a single turn from the creature inside. Okay, yeah. The attacks were relentless. The more we damaged it, the more it bit us. Almost as if it grew in numbers with each attack. Okay, actually, I really like that. That could use a little wordsmithing, but that is more descriptive. And if a kid can remember that during the actual combat, that little seed, that might give them some tips and advice. Okay, so walking it through, the players leave the quicksand. They see these chickens. They either have a combat or they avoid the chickens. Either way, they're going to come across these destroyed goose traps with this note. But I need... Well, they don't need to go to Flockwood. but I want to encourage them to go to Flockwood, to go to the town. So, okay, let me jump ahead. Reasons to go to Flockwood. Get information on the warrior chickens. Gather supplies to help aid in the adventure. This would be better if I didn't have 13 kids, but talk with the smithy to create a trap or tool to slow the honk draw. And the tool I'm thinking is something to keep him from flying away. So this might be kind of cool. What is that? Ballista. Okay, ballista. Ballista on wheels. Yeah. Okay, let's get a good picture here. Here we go. With this massive arrow. Okay, open image in new tab. Let's copy this picture. That's a good looking, that's a fine ballista if I've ever seen one. Okay, so they're working on this ballista. It can penetrate the feathers. The tip turns into hooks. What's like that fishing lure? Triple words are hard. Fishing hook, 3 hooks. Is it just called like a triple hook? Yeah, okay. Treble hooks? Treble hook. Okay. So let me get that picture. Is it boring listening to a GM do session prep? Maybe. But I'm doing it. Yeah, so it's got a normal spear tip, but upon puncturing, it then hooks itself in. So the other end of the rope must be tied to a rock. Okay, and how can they get it through the marsh? So players have to work together to get this through the marsh. And, okay, I'll write that down. Players have to work together to carry this through the marsh. You know, this makes sense because if I have this many kids, they each can carry, you know, a large chunk of it. Takes 30 minutes. Okay, we'll say it takes 10 minutes to assemble. If in a safe place, but if rushed, could take much longer. And in order to do that mechanically, in D&D terms, like if they do it safe, they just do rolls, but if they're rushed, then they roll with disadvantage. Okay. Okay. All right, all right, all right. So that's in the town. That's why they would go to the town. In the Okay, 30 chickens is a lot. Let's see if I can save some time here. 5e battle chicken stat. Okay, yeah. Chicken, let's see. 5e chicken archer stat block. What do we got here? Revised alchemist chicken. Chicken escape, chicken run, fiery explosion. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. So again, these chickens have been experimented on. I love the internet. Okay, chickens. Fired chicken. I mean, all the elementals. Okay, so we'll say of the 30, there's 5 elemental chickens, 5 melee chickens. I don't need to say chickens. There's 5 elemental, 5 melee, 10 archers, and then I want, let's see, one, kind of want to say like berserker, one buff chicken. Okay, let me Google that because that'll be funny. Kids will like that. Buff chicken. Yeah, I want like this cartoon, but like, all right, let's see. Barbarian chicken. Chicken. Oh. Can I get this in color? Open image in new tab. Oh, yes. Oh my god, the internet. The internet is undefeated. Yes. What does he have in his hand? Just a spike? Is that a sword? Does he have a sword just coming out? This must be AI generated, and then oh, he's got human arms. What did the other one have? Yeah, this one had wings, but this guy's got human arms. Oh, and then okay, it looks like like some kind of spear. Maybe this goes. No, that's in front. Oh no, maybe it goes behind him. I'm gonna assume this all goes behind. Okay, yeah. Copy image. This would be like one chicken general. Okay, this is gonna. Okay, you know what? This is what I'm doing, and you just have to let it happen. This is General Sao. This is General Sao, right? I'm not even going to explain the joke. If you don't get the joke, it's not made for you. Okay. Awesome. Love it. Okay. So they're gonna have a battle. They battle the chickens. Then Bo Jim is gonna show up. Bo Jim shows up because this buff chicken is just not. The players cannot defeat this guy. They give him everything, and it's just not happening. So Bo Jim shows up and helps the players. Bo Jim the orc, or ogre, right? Ogre. Bo Jim is an ogre. Yeah, okay. If I said orc before, he's an ogre. Bojim shows up and helps the players. To him, these chickens are always a nuisance and does not like Ungolf. Ungolf the wizard. But he does think the fiery ones do taste pretty good and prefers those. He is cranky to the players because he just wants to be left alone. Think like Shrek. Get out of my MUH. My swamp. Okay, perfect. So now I've got it already in my head. I just thought of this. Bojim is Shrek. Okay. I'm gonna clearly state that here. Bojim is Shrek. He tells players to leave him alone. Go to Flockwood. Go to Flockwood where their people belong. What information does he know? He knows that Ungolf is creating monstrosities. He knows he thinks he has seen the Honkdra, but it was at night. What does he want? He wants to be left alone. But if the players... He wants to be left alone, but is having an issue. Let's see. Let's go back to the official honk. What does he... He's very smart for an ogre. Unfortunately, he also has short temper. His kind is famous for. If the players insult him, harm his chickens, oh, they're his chickens, or damage his property, he is likely to get into a rage unless the players bribe him with gold or gems. If, however, the players treat him with respect and don't use too many difficult words, he will offer them a bowl of his stew and share his knowledge of the wetlands. Oh, okay. All right. There's a large cave at the end of the lake. The strange monster that is attacking the villagers probably has its layer up there. He has seen the shadow of the monster at night. Okay. When it flew over his house, you can follow the red lilies which grow in shallow water to navigate the lake on foot. Okay. I forgot most of that. So how can I tweak this? Bojim shows up and helps the players. To him, these chickens are always a nuisance and does not like Ungolf the wizard. Okay, we can tweak it back to the original. And these chickens are always a nuisance and does not like Ungolf the wizard. The chickens are his, but have been captured by Ungolf and turned this way. Okay, so he hates the wizard, but he's scared of the wizard. Okay, yeah. Okay, so he tells players to leave him alone, go to Flockwood, where their people belong. He knows that Ungolf is creating monstrosities, and wouldn't mind if the players stop Ungolf from stealing his chickens. He has seen the Hongtra, but it was at night. He wants to be left alone. Actually, okay, I kind of already did that. Okay, so the players now kind of have two enemies. They have Ungolf and they have the Hongtra. So I kind of want to... Okay, yeah. Let's do this. Let's go... He knows that Ungolf is creating monstrosities. And stealing his chickens. When he traveled to the tower, to Ungolf's tower, he saw it smoking and in shambles. When he traveled to Ungolf's tower, he arrived at night, saw it smoking and in shambles, and a shadowy figure fly from the fires, and he could hear Ungolf screaming as he was carried away to the north. Okay, and pulling from the original adventure, if the players are nice to Bojim, he will tell players to follow... What is it called here? The red lilies through the marsh, as that is the most shallow parts of the swamp. And let me get a picture of a red lily. Yeah. Okay, red lily in a swamp. Can I get lucky? Let's use... okay, I like this one. It's kind of pink, but that's okay. I can tweak it. Okay, I think that's good. Let's see, how much time is this going to take? So I have 2 hours with them. When we factor in getting settled and recap, let's say we have 90 minutes and cleanup. We have 90 minutes. So we're going to have one combat, which is probably going to be 45 minutes. So then we've got 45 minutes, probably 20 minutes talking with Bojim, and then traveling to Flockwood. Okay. So let's think of one overland encounter for new players. Okay. Let's go to my boy, ChatGPT. Give me a quick swamp encounter for new players learning D&D as they head to a town to gather supplies. The Murky Crossing. The party is traveling through a damp, misty swamp. They're following a narrow, winding path, trying to make their way to the nearest town to gather supplies. As they proceed, they reach a wide stretch of murky water with stepping stones leading across it. The air smells foul, and the water seems suspiciously still. Suddenly, the ground begins to bubble, and two giant frogs leap out of the water, croaking loudly. Objective: the players need to make it across the stepping stones while dealing with the frogs that want to pull them into the water. The frogs are trying to grab and drag a player into the swamp where the movement is slower and escaping becomes difficult. Okay, challenge elements. The stepping stones require dexterity. The giant frogs will attack the closest characters and grapple them. If a character falls into the water, they become restrained until they make a strength athletics check. Goal: the players need to either defeat the frogs or find a creative way to bypass them and cross safely. Possible outcomes: if they defeat the frogs, they can make their way across without further trouble. If the frogs are too challenging, the players might try distracting them with rations or some flashy magic to escape. Once across, they can continue the town with a sense of accomplishment and maybe a funny story about a close call with a hungry frog. I don't hate that, but getting pulled into the water is kind of like dealing with the quicksand. So let's see. Give me another one. But I love how that was all laid out. The glow in the mist. Okay, so yes. Let's do a nighttime encounter. Oh yeah, the Will-O-Wisp. If someone gets trapped in the... Okay, quicksand. Let's go back up to the beginning. And let's edit this. Give me a swamp encounter for new players learning as they head to a town to gather supplies. It should take place at night. It should be foggy, and the players... I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Misty ambush. Nighttime in a foggy swamp. Okay, let me edit that. Give me a quick non-combat swamp encounter. As the player travels through the swamp at night, the fog thickens, reducing visibility. The whispers grow louder, speaking in a language that none of them understand. Slowly, ghostly figures begin to emerge through the fog. Will-O-Wisps floating around the marshy ground. They seem to beckon the party deeper into the swamp, flickering with an inviting glow. The players must decide how to proceed. Do they follow the lights, which almost seem playful, risking being led astray, or do they ignore them, focusing on the path they hope leads to the town? As they deliberate, a log shifts beneath the murky water, revealing itself to be a small alligator, disturbed by the presence and swimming away into the fog. This encounter teaches players the value of caution and perception. uh, not as not it wasn't laid out as nice as the first one. Give me a quick non-combat. All right, what do we got? Sure thing. Nighttime, thick fog covers the swamp. As the party carefully makes their way through the dark, foggy swamp, the croaking of frogs and the distant hoots of unseen creatures echo around them suddenly. Okay, I love that. Suddenly they hear a soft, ghostly wail and see a faint light flickering through the mist, bobbing up and down. The light seems to be moving away from the party, almost as if it's leading them somewhere. Investigate the light, ignore the light. Skill check opportunity, perception check, survival check could reveal that the area has been visited before and the lantern might have been. Okay, I want. Can will-o'-the-wisps talk? Oh, you know what I want? Okay, here we go. All right. Give me a quick non-combat swamp encounter for new players learning D&D. Is the head of town where you should supply. It should take place at night. It should be foggy. And they should meet a harmless ghost patrolling the swamp that offers them a riddle. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let me tweak this. Give me a quick. Well, it doesn't have to be quick. Let me just get rid of that. Give me a. I do want them to get to town, but give me a non-combat swamp encounter for new players learning D&D as they head to a town to gather supplies. It should take place at night. It should be foggy, and they should meet a harmless ghost patrolling the. Well, should meet a harmless ghost patrolling the swamp that offers them a riddle. In order to escape the swamp at night, they must solve the ghost's riddle. Each failure results in -1 HP until the sun rises. Okay, that might have been too specific. I'm kind of like writing the adventure. I really just need the riddle. The players are navigating the ghost as they struggle through the mist. The party suddenly notices a faint ethereal glow ahead. Stepping into their view is a ghostly figure, a tall, elderly person dressed in tattered old clothes with an expression of calm serenity. The ghost appears harmless, floating a few feet above the swampy ground. They are patrolling a path, slowly and humming an old melody. Oh, I like this. The ghost notices the players and raises a translucent hand, beckoning them to come closer. Ah, travelers, lost in the fog, are ye? The swamp's grip is a cruel one, especially by night. But worry not, I may offer ye a way out. Solve my riddle, and the path shall be clear. Fail, and the swamp will sap your strength until the sun graces this land once more. Oh my god, this is perfect. The ghost pauses, then smiles gently before speaking. I have no wings, yet I can fly. I never cry, but I am often wet. I have no voice, yet I make others speak, and without me, they all forget. Okay, can I figure this out? Probably not. I have no wings, yet I can fly. Okay, what can fly without wings? Let me take a little drink here. No wings, but I can fly. They're wet. They're wet and they can fly. I have no voice, yet I make others speak. And without me, they all forget. Okay, it offers hint. All right, a memory. Solution. The answer to the riddle is memory. Okay, I'm going to copy all of this because it's amazing, but I'm going to change the riddle. All right, had a little technical issue there. You probably didn't notice anything, but all right, I got a better riddle. In thinking about it, the players know that they are here to get the sacred goose. They have run into chickens. They've gotten some information from Bo Jim. The memory, there's no way these fifth graders are going to get memory. Didn't even make sense. So here's what I've got, and the answer is a goose. And I think that keep it simple for them. They're there to get a goose. So let's see if they remember. The riddle is: I waddle around both on land and in lakes. I honk quite loudly, make no mistake. With feathers white or gray, you may see me loose. What am I? A bird with a funny name. Kind of some rhyming, some not rhyming, but hopefully they hear loose and then they can get goose. All right. After they solve the riddle, the ghost offers safe passage through the swamp, which leads right to Flockwood. All right. I have to clean these up, but that is great session prep. I know what they're going to do. They'll fight the chickens, or at least avoid the chickens. They're going to run into Bo Jim either way. If they don't fight the chickens, they'll see Bo Jim fight the chickens. Then they'll talk with him, get the information, get a little more information, be encouraged to go to Flockwood. On the way to Flockwood, they'll run into the ghost, and that should be 90 minutes worth of stuff. It might be more than I need, but I'd rather overplan than underplan. So yeah, that is that, and we will close up that topic and then move on to the next. So see you in a second. All right, I looked at my recording time. I don't think I'll have enough time for my Magic the Gathering world building, map making game, so I'll save that for another episode. And it probably should be its own topic as well. I think that's a good place to talk about game design in there. But we're going to talk about some adventures that I've written, and in particular, an adventure that I ran a couple weeks ago. So I can think of probably half a dozen times where I've been talking about Dungeons and Dragons either with students or friends, and they say, "Well, what's it like? I've always wanted to learn, or it sounds fun. How do I play?" And so, this adventure is something I wrote. I did an episode on it a long time ago. If I remember, I'll link it in the description, and you can go download it for free. It's stuff. The art is stuff I've taken from the internet. A lot of it's ChatGPT, but essentially you are Strahd's daughter, and it's kind of an intro to Curse of Strahd if you wanted to run it. One of Strahd's daughters, it's her birthday, and Strahd gifts her this large cemetery where there's a crypt underneath that she can rule from. And then there's this adjacent town that she's going to take over. So the players have to stop her from doing that. But this is 34 pages, and it takes about 3 to 4 hours to run. I've run it one time with my friends Anthony and Joel. And I do like this story. This is my go-to if somebody said, "Hey, Heath, can you run a one-shot for me?" Yep. Let me dust off the Black Moon at Ravens Bluff, and I'll run that for you, this weekend, let's say. On a handful of occasions, I've run this story that I just kind of made up in my head. It's Really simple. There's no character sheet. It's meant to be played in like 10 minutes, just to give somebody that has no idea what Dungeons and Dragons is a little sense of it. And basically, I say, okay, pretend you are a 12-year-old and it is Halloween night. You've been out trick-or-treating for a couple hours. Your bag is full, and you wrap up right as a storm is rolling in. You eat way more candy than you should. You get sick, and you pass out and go to bed. Okay? Then when they wake up, I say, like, you're not sure what time it is. As you look around, you can see your alarm clock isn't on. The power must be out. Lightning hits, lightning strikes. Why don't you roll a dice for me? And it doesn't matter the dice, D6, D20, whatever we've got. If they roll high, they can see out the window that something, when the lightning struck, there was something out of the ordinary. It's fall, the leaves have fell from the tree, but there appeared to be something up in the tree. If they rolled really high, you can say, like, it kind of looked like human size, human shaped, but you don't know. And if they roll really low, then they just go back to bed. Well, what's happening is there is a werewolf outside. It's a full moon. And I must have a theme where I like moons. And so if they fall back asleep, then they are awoken automatically next time to things being broken downstairs. If they rolled high, then it's the first opportunity that they get to hear, what do you want to do? And in the times that I've run this, I've had people say, I'm going to go grab a bat. I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to hide under my covers. I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to climb out my window and investigate. I'm going to jump out my window. Okay. That person was actually a crazy story. That was a student, and they rolled high, and they ended up, I think, kicking it or karate chopping it out of the tree. That was awesome. If they roll poorly, so lots of things can happen. This one is not very railroady. And so the monster can make its way into the house. The power's out. Their family is there. It could attack their family. How aggressive do they want to be? So that's my go-to. And that's, again, about 10, 20 minutes tops, I would say. It depends on how into it the person wants to be. There's a couple of rolls: perception check, maybe investigation check, strength check, and then a combat, and then they're done. Okay? So about, 20 minutes or so. Well, a couple weekends ago, I was over at a friend's house. We were having a play date amongst our children, and they said that they were interested in learning. And so, one, I didn't have this black moon at the ready. I could have maybe winged it, but I knew that this was going to take 3 or 4 hours, so that wasn't good. The Halloween story with the werewolf, that's kind of like not a solo, but like a 2-player thing, where there's the GM and then the player, because 2 people aren't sleeping in the same bed that Halloween night. So I need something to kind of like bridge the gap from between a 20-minute session and a 3 or 4 hour session. So something that takes about an hour. So that's my background. I've run a bunch of small adventures in my clubs, small adventures in my summer school clubs, or class, I should say. And so I've kind of pieced together a bunch of things, and this is what I have. I will read it to you, and it is in alpha stage 0.01. I gotta do some more editing to it. I gotta tighten it up. I want to print it out to see if the font size is too big or too small. I'm hoping it's too big so I can shrink it and get more room. But my goal is, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough where I'm like, I want to print this out, laminate it, and then carry it in my wallet. So when somebody says, I want to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons, or, a TTRPG, that I can whip this out, give it a quick 5-minute read, refresh myself on it, and then, yeah, sure, let's play, let's go. I'd probably use the game that I made up, which was inspired by many, many other games, but primarily probably Dungeon World, which I need to purchase and do a review on, or a synopsis on, or a deep dive, because I know the mechanics just from the internet, and it really makes sense. So I won't bore you with that, but let's get into this. And while I'm reading it, I'm also editing it and coming up with creative ideas and figuring it out. But I know that I need to bold certain things, and I would like to color code it. There are options of things that players can do, and right off the bat, if they don't do what I have written, like, I don't really have a plan B. So I would have to, in the moment, try not to be railroady and let them figure out what they want to do and try to steer them back on the path. Again, we all know a railroad adventure is not fun, right? When you try to do something and the GM's like, nope, can't do it, or they don't call for checks when you're trying to do something. They don't let you play your character, things like that. But this is meant to just be a learning tool, a teaching tool. And so if you're a teacher out there, you might know this phrase, I do, we do, you do. All right. I do is I'm going to explain everything. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to tell you what to roll. We do is we work on this together. So in the context of this, I would say, okay, here's the world. What do you want to do? Here are your options. And then you do is here's the world. What do you want to do? I don't give options. Whatever you want. And the goal is to get to the you do, where particularly students are empowered enough that they understand what the situation is, the lesson is, the instruction, the worksheet, etc., and they can go and make progress on it. Okay, that's the teacher in me. But here we go. Let me read. You were swept up in the royal uprising of the Crimson Queen. Her greed has stretched the realm too thin of resources, and the people are suffering while she lives a life of luxury. Okay, I'm just going to read. I'm not going to explain, I'm just going to read. As you awake, you see you are floating in a 3-walled cell of the leap or lightning prison. You either leap to your death or wait to be struck by lightning. The Scarlet Soldiers are patrolling on their Havoc Hawks. I love alliterations. If I can change Crimson Queen to something Crimson, I don't know. Let's just read. I get distracted. Okay? You can hear the cell next to you planning their escape. They are going to hijack a Havoc Hawk next time they come for a drop-off. If you don't help, you'll be struck by the oncoming lightning storm being summoned by Artemis, the Queen's sorceress advisor. Artemis the advisor. That you can hear casting his ritual spell below. If the players are not successful through rolls, the other inmates will get the hawk. Now, very railroady here I have, on the flight down, they will be attacked by another Havoc Hawk and can attack it using the spears on the hawk or weapons they have. They were scooped up by a hawk with all of their gear on. Well, what if they don't want to go along with the prisoners next to them? What if they don't want to ride the hawk? Okay, well, I've explained that a lightning storm is coming and they're going to get struck by lightning. So that's kind of like the sense of urgency. But they might want to say, like, no, I want to free dive. I've got a cape and I want to parasail all the way down. Okay, great. Go for it. But that's me, the GM, then having to think on the spot of how we want to move forward. On the flight down, they will be attacked. They should make rolls to not fall off. If a player falls, the Hawks are trained to catch their riders and will catch them. So, again, railroady, they failed their dexterity check. They're going to fall. They're about to die, and then they die. Oh, okay, well, now we're 5 minutes in and you died. Okay? boring, lame. So even though I think it's railroady that either they roll well and they stay on the hawk, or they fall and the hawk is going to get them, as long as it makes sense, as long as you have a reason, which for me, it's that they're trained to catch their riders. Now, the players are not their rider, but like instinct kicks in, and these hawks, something fell, they have to go get it. Okay? Page 2, or other side of the business card here. When players land, they will see the uprising is still happening. They can either sneak their way past the Queen's advisor or fight him head on. If they sneak in, they will find Oliver, the leader of the resistance, who will lead them directly to the Queen's quarters. Okay, they can fight, they can sneak. If they sneak, then this person is going to lead them right to the Queen. We've already established that the Queen is the main bad guy, so we got to stop the Queen. When they reach the Queen, the players will notice the Queen's eyes glowing bright red as she hurls fire bolts at the players and attacks. If they fight the advisor first, he will eventually Misty Step into the Queen's quarters, to which they will then go find Oliver, and Oliver will lead them there. If the players sneak to the Queen, Artemis will eventually show up, reveal himself as the true villain, fight the players, and attempt to escape. All right. So think of it as what movie is this? Aladdin. Disney's Aladdin. So Jafar kind of takes over the Sultan, right? He's got the staff and the glowing eyes, and he tricks him. And I think it's the Sultan that ultimately banishes Aladdin. I could be wrong on that, but it's the point is that an evil sorcerer is the one controlling the person that is actually in charge. So this makes me think that I should add a sentence here. Again, I got to fit this all on a business card. So less is more. But I have here that you were swept up by the Crimson Queen. Her greed has stretched the realm too thin. But I should put something in there that, like, the once beloved queen is now corrupt. So that there's some background there that, like, she hasn't always been evil, but just recently something has happened. Okay. Artemis will show up, reveal himself to be the true enemy, and attempt to escape. The players will come to, and the Queen will come to, and reward the players with gold and enhance their weapons, and then task the players with finding Artemis, a cliffhanger for the next adventure. Tips, I need to add more here, but encourage role-playing and reward decision-making. Have fun. Explain the rules as you play, not all at once. Okay? So that's the adventure. The players, rightfully or wrongfully, get swept up in this uprising. They find themselves in a prison. They have to escape. Or die. When they escape, then they're making rolls to see how successful they are on the escape. They can either have a combat there or use more skills to sneak. Then have a combat either with the Queen for a little bit, or the Queen and then Artemis, and then a cliffhanger for the next adventure. I'm not saying this is the best ever, but for an introduction that will take more than 20 minutes to about an hour, I feel like this is enough. It gives you a little world building, checks, and combat. Okay. Once I clean this up, I plan on posting this on DriveThruRPG. Maybe I'll do it on itch.io, and you can download it for free. My goal is not to make money off this, because one, I don't think it's good enough to make money, but two, just if you were to tell me, hey, Heath, I ran your adventure and my players had fun, that's all the payment I need. All right. Got other stuff to do. That magic world building, Call of Cthulhu. Gonna prep that up. And yeah, always busy here at Roll Around Find Out. So you keep being creative. See you in the next episode. Later.